Good day, everyone. I am Matt Harrison, and you are listening to the Geary Cast, the Malaga fan podcast for all the Gearys out there. Malaga undefeated this season is no more. Elche came to La Rosaleda and destroyed Malaga, as well as their status as Invictos in the league. A 3-0 drubbing was well deserved for Elche, and dare I even suggest it could have been even more. Beleaguered and broken, two adjectives that could describe Malaga last Saturday night, but probably two adjectives that could also describe the feelings of my GearyCast co-host who is joining me tonight and who was watching from afar. I am joined by Nick Bell. How are you, Nick Bell?
I think the two adjectives would just describe me just in general as of late. But great to be back, Matt. Been a good fortnight off the GearyCast. But always happy to come and talk about Malaga playing football, as always.
Yeah, maybe less happy times tonight because it's the first episode in a very long time where we've had to talk about a loss. I guess it would have been the start of April. The Cordoba game, I think, is the last time we recorded about a loss. And actually, I don't think I did that podcast, so it must have been a long time since I have talked about a loss. But yeah, there's
14 days ago.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll perhaps talk about some of that. Just mention what else went on in the Segunda División first, perhaps to divert away from our own misfortunes. But the few other teams had bad weekends, so I don't know if you want to run us through them, Nick.
I suppose it's from your perspective who's had a bad week and who's had a good weekend. And looking ahead to Deportivo in the preview show later this week. They turned Albacete over away 5-2, really clicking into motion. Cadiz losing at home to Eldense. Mirandés, once again, proving to be the surprise package this league, beating Huesca 1-0. Real Sporting making El Melon a bit of a fortress at the minute. Real Zaragoza, the victims there, by losing a goal to 0. Obviously, we're going to talk about Malaga being turned over 3-0 at home by Elche. Levante still marching on 4-2 against relegated side Almeria. Burgos and Granada played out a 2-2 draw. Castellón heaping more misery on Tenerife, and I say that without a smile on my face. Beating them 2-1. Cordoba 3, Racing de Ferrol 1. Real Oviedo beat Eibar 1-0 as well in a great game there. And Racing Santander losing surprisingly to Cartagena 2-1 on the Monday night game.
Yes, I think as well, Burgos 2, Granada 2, I think was one of the results we didn't mention there. But I guess, like you said, it's quite a fun result. The sort of standout there, the Depor scoring 5 away at Albacete, but also quite an ominous one for us as Depor are our upcoming opponents next week. And as Nick said, we'll talk about that later in the week. Any others? I guess Levante is, again, another one that's a bit worrying for us because we go there, at the end of the month, pretty much, well, the start of next month. So in a few match days' time. Any others jump out there? I guess you highlighted Cartagena winning at Racing. That's a biggie.
Yeah, well, obviously, Racing having their first defeat of the season, obviously doing well under our former gaffer. Burgos for me as well, like you say, everyone's waiting for Granada to click. Obviously, they sacked their manager after they played Malaga in the Friday night game over a week ago. So you would expect maybe a bit of a response, but even there, those guys are elevating themselves to second in the league. Choose Burgos, currently in the automatic promotion places. Dare they dream? And everyone else, I think, pretty standard as well at the minute. Everyone's sort of finding their feet at the moment, and results are unpredictable, which is what makes this league so great.
It is indeed. And let's carry on with results, and let's look at the positive side of the Malaga results and to a side who are playing very positively at the moment, and that is Malaga's B team, Atletico Malagueño. They are top of the league. They won 3-1 against Ejido this past weekend. Our boy Chupete, who did feature in our last game before Elche, the away game at Granada. I don't think he touched the ball, actually, but he did get on the pitch for his senior debut. He got 2 goals. They are top of the league in Tercera División, Grupo 9. Great to see.
Yeah, well, like you say, it's sometimes maybe the hypocritical part of me when I go in on B teams that we come up against, whether it was in last season in the Primera or when we've spoken about them or a lack of them this season. But it's always good to see our young lads doing well. And, Malaga have got such a great plethora of players or plethora of players for you, Matt. I know we discussed that at the last time we met. And players like Chupete, my personal favourite, Angarrecio, this is a great opportunity for them to maybe get a promotion under the belt and come join Pellicer's first team in the future.
By the way, I only found out this about a couple of days ago. Do you know why he's called Chupete? Because obviously that is a nickname.
No, I ignorantly just assumed that was his name.
This is amazing as well, because this is a footballer I hadn't really thought about that much. There is a link to another footballer, basically, but I forgot how much I loved this footballer. He was sort of one of those players you wouldn't really see until World Cups came around, because he played in South America. But Chupete is actually the nickname of Humberto Suazo. Do you remember Humberto Suazo for I was getting it wrong. Chile. It was Chile. I was get Chile and Paraguay mixed up. No, he's Chilean. I don't know if you know.
Yeah.
Like stocky.
Before the Ben Brereton Diaz's of this world.
Yeah, he scored a lot of goals for Chile, actually, as well. He was like a proper cult striker, like squat, shaved hair. But the reason Chupete is named Chupete is because Humberto Suazo was also nicknamed Chupete, which I believe means lollipop or some form of lollipop. And Chupete, our Chupete, who's I've just realized name I don't know, shaved his hair shaved his hair, and his dad said, "You look a bit like that Humberto Suazo," which is a very football hipstery character to bring up, and apparently that's where the nickname comes from.
Do you know what? It's the best young football players that are coming through at the minute, and you always get the ones that say, "Oh, I was inspired by Messi and Ronaldo." The best young footballers at this moment in time are the ones that say they were inspired by really niche football manager find-esque football players like Chupete in Chile, or who's the other one who always popped up in the World Cup?
You've just mentioned one sort of inspiration where one of the best players in the world, best striker in the world, Erling Haaland, cites Michu as his favorite ever player.
As he does, Barclaysman. That's what you got to say now. Apparently, that is now what the kids are doing, which is great. But like I say, if he carries on scoring the way that he does, it won't be too long before he is, fast tracked in and around the first team, a la Antonito, a la Aaron Ochoa Maloney. So, fair play to him. He just can't stop scoring for fun at the minute.
And while you were talking, then I did dig a bit. His name is Carlos Ruiz Rubio. So Chupete is his sort of links to it. So it's very Spanish, isn't it? Carlos Ruiz Rubio.
I was going to say, Ruiz Rubio sounds like he could be a great striker for Spain. Like in the 2036 World Cup.
And actually, Carlos Ruiz, which I'm guessing was his name, I'm sure he was like a Salvadorian striker that scored a load of goals in MLS, but I'll have to check that. So again, he's named after another cult footballer.
We're getting into the football cliches area of expertise now, aren't we?
we are. Yeah, I'm really sad, really. Anyway, moving on. Well, we're not going to move on far, because we're going to talk about more young Malaga footballers. 2 who are featured, much more often in the senior team, in the first team, especially this season. That is Antonito and Aaron Ochoa Maloney. They've been called up to their respective under-19 squads. Obviously, Antonito with Spain and Aaron Ochoa Maloney with Ireland. That means they're going to, again, it seems to be a bit of a mix-up here with what's going on. I believe they're both going to miss the Cádiz game, because some said they might miss the Depor game, but I believe that's not the case now.
Yeah, I think with the way that the call-ups fall, there was a bit of miscommunication that they were going to miss both games. But it's been confirmed that they'll both be in attendance at the Depor game later on this week, but then they'll just basically disappear and go and meet up with the rest of the squad and be missing the Cardiff game as well, which is obviously, not ideal, but, it is what it is. There's a bit of, especially around Antonito, is it worth his time to go do it? People have said, should the club actually say no? He's a pretty essential footballer to the club at the minute. He could probably do better than being in the under-19s, but I think personally for me, taking that attitude is just going to limit your opportunities in the future.
I've got to be honest with you, that sort of discourse really pissed me off a bit, actually, like the sort of comments around that, because I don't think anyone's got any right to sort of downplay a national team, whether it's under 19s or under 21s. It's like the way I was thinking about it when Antonito was getting called up last year, and he was in and out of the first team, and I suppose he played on the bench for us a lot more. Nobody had a problem with the under 21s or under 19s or under 17s then. It's like it's a bit different for me, I think, if Antonito says I don't want to go. But as far as I'm aware, there's nothing like that. And the same with Aaron. So who are people to say, oh, he's better playing with us? No, I don't think he is. I'd rather him go play for his national team and, get that opportunity. And, obviously it's quite good for his future. If he goes somewhere, he's got a relationship with the national team. And I think it's also good for Malaga. I don't know if you looked at the Spain under-19s team, but it's all Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus. I think there's a couple of Chelsea players in there. I think it's good for our players to go mingle with them. And also, at the moment, we've talked on this podcast that arguably our two best players this season have been the two youngsters who have been called up. And it sort of gives us an opportunity to go, okay, so what is the solution to not relying on two 17-year-old kids? I don't know if it's because us Welsh folk are a bit more passionate about our national football team. I don't know, and we get excited about the Wales under 21s and stuff. I don't know, but I saw on Twitter and Facebook posts and things like that, people going, "This is ridiculous." I was like, well, is it?
I think you've got to look at it from this perspective as well. He's going into the under-19s now, still a very young man, obviously only 17 years old, and I suppose with his form, the amount of football he's playing at the level he's playing at, he gets to go in there and be a bit of a big fish in a small pond. Yeah. Whereas if you take him and put him into the under-21s, for example, he gets to go and be part of that squad, but he's competing for a place along the size of, Las Palmas' Malero. He's up against, Diego Lopez from Valencia, Samu Omaradian from Porto, players who are within their own right playing for Champions League or La Liga sides. So what's the best benefit for Antonito? Playing with people his own age in an environment where he can thrive, or, going and sitting in the 21 squad, sitting on the bench and not really contributing. And I get it from both sides, but for me, I think he's best off sticking where he is for the time being and waiting for that opportunity to come around.
Yeah. And again, I think it's good that a young footballer, I guess, anything in life really, or in the professional life, that it's good to go and try different things in your field and sort of have different experiences. I don't know. I just thought it might just be me. Obviously, as a Malaga fan, I'd rather see them on the bench for Malaga or on the starting lineup, and I'd rather my club have more options, but not to go against their national teams. That's just seemed, I don't know.
The flip side to this, as well as obviously Isa Marino has lost his place in the Spanish under-19s as well. Obviously, he's been a bit of a stalwart in there for a while, and I don't know if it's because he's had a lack of football and he's obviously not playing for Atletico Malagueño anymore that, maybe he is not being considered for that role. But there's the other side of it there where Antonito's got to look at that as a bit of a blessing because he's still getting selected. It's as you said, it's not a given that you get those opportunities when the pool of players is so big.
Yeah, maybe just, not to keep hammering the point home, but equally, even if Antonito or even Aaron go the other way and, they don't have their careers don't pan out as they'd like. You know, it's good to say like, oh, look at these Spanish under-19 caps I got, and I don't think that's to turn your nose up. So the way some people were thinking or speaking on social media is like, oh yeah, they just handed out willy-nilly to people. It's quite like
Aaron Maloney as well, obviously being called up to the under-19s for Ireland once again. He's represented them all the way through schoolboys into under-16s, 17s and 19s now. But there's apparently a real clamour from the Spanish FA to get him to switch allegiances to the country of his birth. So, you know, these are two, you know, very big assets for the club with what appears to be bright international futures at least. And it's all good for the club, really, isn't it? And all good for, you know, let's call a spade, turnover, cash money.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what Aaron Maloney does decide in the end, actually, because, yeah, I do believe it is, you know, Spain are sniffing around him. But anyway, let's move on from international football. Sadly, we're going to go to club football and talk about Malaga losing. Obviously, our starting 11 did feature both of those youngsters. We did have to take on Elche. We did go with a completely unchanged starting 11. Before the game, Nick, did you feel that was the right call?
I think obviously with the nature of the injuries that we've got and how the squad have been playing it as of late, I can see why Pater decided to do it. You know, he's building a foundation to which to work off. But also the Sunday League football manager in my head that looks a bit like Sam Allardyce in my mind. He would scream for you know, change one thing, keep them guessing type thing. Maybe don't allow complacency to slip in. And I think maybe that is what's happened in the end, is that, you know, a few players have thought to themselves, oh, well, I'm a first name on the team sheet. I'm a starter now, and I don't maybe need to play at higher level as I was a few games ago to keep my spot because there's no one here to challenge me.
Yeah, and I guess, like you said, I think injuries have played a part there. As well as off the top of my head, I feel like this happened at the start of last season a bit as well, where he had like his sort of core starting 11, which mostly played, but by October, November, things did start to change match by match. So it'd be interesting to see if that happens. Like, you know, for my part, when I saw the starting 11, I did just think, cool. Like, I can't think of who would step in to those places. I don't want to perhaps jump the gun ahead of the preview show. There's perhaps one position I might have thought of tweaking, or maybe two I would have thought of tweaking, but perhaps we can talk about that when we get to the
and the options were coming back as well, weren't they? Like you say, Labete was named on the bench. You had Alex Pastor, who was obviously, he's been back for a few games now, but he's not been used. But something that Pacer did like to do last season was recycle those centre-back partnerships to keep it fresh back there. And I think that was a massive success for last season. So I can see why he's persevered, Monte and Einar, as of late. But something sometimes just needs a bit of a wiggle. So, I think more and more options are coming through. So just feels like a bit of a wake-up call for him, maybe.
Yeah, and let's go straight to wake-up calls, because Malaga had one very, very early in this game as Elche took the lead in the 4th minute, I think. Or was it before? It was in the 4th minute. Early goal from Agustin Alvarez on loan from Sassuolo as well, which I didn't know before the game. Actually, I don't know if you saw as well, he's got 4 caps for Uruguay. I was like, oh, you don't get many Uruguayan internationals in Segunda. He's only got 4 caps. I don't know when he got them, admittedly. But anyway, he got on the head. He got on the end of a simple cross. Again, we conceded from another cross after what happened in Granada. After Alfonso Herrero did make a great save to sort of palm an initial shot wide. What are your thoughts, Nick? Was this just the sucker punch which set the whole game up, or what
I thought this. Someone's playing music on my end. Sorry about that one. I was like that then going, I'm going to start doing this to a song now.
Was it the Malaga defense messing around with your MacBook or your laptop because they don't want you to talk about the horror?
They don't want me to talk about it. No, we were definitely. I think this was the basically set up of the entire game for us. You could see that Elche were here to do something and here to react. Obviously, a very poor start to the season. We were slow out to that cross as well. I was looking at Danny Sanchez. Sorry, I'm just going to have to stop the computer from screaming at me, playing music. So yeah, it was a matter of us just not reacting quick enough and clearly punished by a Uruguayan striker who is clearly very talented.
Yeah, he was very good actually up front. But yeah, for me, it's the same old story as the Granada game. Danny Sanchez looked like slow and like, I don't know, maybe because it was so early in the game. And to be fair to us, we've not conceded too many early goals. Like in recent,
it's been a strength of ours.
Yeah, so I don't know, maybe we just thought. And also, I'm wondering if we were a bit like, all right, Alfonso Herrera's made the save. That's that chance gone. And yeah, they seem to spring on in, think, well, they got the ball back in quick. And yeah, it didn't have to do much with the header, did he? But he was in the right place between the two centre-backs. And yeah,
well, I think especially like we can lay the blame at Gianni Sanchez for being slow to react, but I've also got to look at, Einar more specifically than Monte maybe, but allowing your man to make that kind of mark whilst throwing a bit of a lame attempt at getting your head onto it, it was a goal that we, like you say, we would not have been surprised to have conceded a couple of seasons ago. From a far more technical outfit than we are at the time. So it surprised me how early we conceded, but you could kind of see this happening in this game.
Yeah, and I guess there's not really too many talking points from like a Malaga offensive perspective. I know Manu Molina had that sort of shot on the edge of the box, which he sort of tried to outside of the foot a little bit and skied it over. That was the only real, I wouldn't say a big chance, but a decent chance. In general, what did you make of Malaga's performance in the first half? Were we bad or were Elche just good?
I think Elche clicked. Like I said before, they've not had the greatest start to the season, but you've got to remember this is a team that, in the last 2 years have been playing in the Liga. They could clearly have got the pulling power and the finances to be able to bring in players of quality, that similar to how like an Eibar or a Real Valladolid have done it in the last few years, coming down with that kind of backing. So for me, it was just a difference in quality between the two squads. We've got to remember this is a squad that we were competing in Primera with last season with barely any differences to it. Like say that entire back four was the same back four we had last season at times when we were depleted with injuries. So, I think we were chasing our tails a bit in that first half. I don't think we were massively poor, but we were just outclassed.
Yeah, I made a note in my notes here saying that I think we've all commented that we've been good this season so far. Or certainly had really good moments at times, but we've not been brilliant, but we've never looked like a team that's come from a lower division. We've always looked fairly comfortable in this league. Admittedly, we haven't played any of the big boys. But, well, I suppose Granada would hopefully consider themselves a big boy, but they've not had a great start. But this is the first time we look like a team that come from the third division and been promoted. Yeah, I agree. And I think actually Pellicer said as much after the game. I think his line was something like, we weren't good, but also we weren't that bad. And I think that was the Elche just looked really, like, obviously they had that early goal and they obviously a good passing team. They had control of the game then. And obviously they've got Eder Sarrabia as manager who favors this sort of passing football. And they looked like a Eder Sarrabia team. Like, obviously, I don't know if you remember when Andorra came to town when they were good 2 years ago. And it was, I remember being quite similar, like the sort of style of play. And yeah, it's really.
It's all like the gospel really, according to Pep, isn't it? Kind of style of football play, and you could really tell they look great in their kits as well. And that would affect me if I was playing against someone who looked fantastic in a football shirt. I'd be like, fucking just let him run past me.
Yeah, they were cool, weren't they? They did look a bit like sort of. I'm trying to think which one of the films it is. One of the Mighty Ducks films, the baddies in the end, whichever the baddie team are, because they play Iceland in one, don't they? And I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway. But
The
they look like
Hawks.
one of the Hawks. That's it. A bit like the Hawks, but they were, the Hawks were dirty. These guys were just good footballers. I guess the other thing to comment on again is San Alfonso Herrero just making saves again. I don't think we could fault him for this 3-0 loss. I thought we should mention as well your old favourite, Alex Febas. I don't know if you watched him closely, Nick. Did you note anything about Febas?
I watched him with a tear in my eye. I think the only one thing I would note about him is he seems a different player for Elche than he did for us. He didn't seem to have many of those mazy runs, but I think maybe that's been drilled out of him and he's become a passing robot. But it's always nice to see him. I know he said nice things about the club in the run up to the game as well. So
I'm not sure if I misunderstood some things, but I think when he first got the ball, there was a couple of boos towards him, I think, but then I think when he came over to get a throw in or a corner, there was sort of a response of people clapping him. I think that's what happened. So because I didn't think there was any need to boo him, I'm not saying people don't need to get out of their seat and give him an ovation or anything. But like you said, he spoke well. Definitely couldn't blame him in the relegation season. I really like him. So yeah, he looked really good. I thought he looked like exactly what you said. Pretty much, he looked neat and tidy. He was still bombing about the pitch a bit, like chasing people, which he was always quite good at Malaga. But yeah, no mazy dribbles, like you said. Malaga made it to halftime 1-0, and fair to say, Elche deserved that. And I think it's fair to say they probably deserved 2-0, especially when they score goals like they did for their second goal, Nick.
Yeah, I think I said to you before we came on that it was a bit of a worldie, and I think just the way it's just dropped to him and he's managed to bend it around not only a goalkeeper but around the Saint in the manner that he did. There's just no stopping them goals. It was properly in the top hand corner as well, wasn't it? So again, Elche showing that they've got this different level of quality to us and probably a lot of teams in Segunda as well. And yeah, Fernandez will be very happy with his goal.
Yeah, I said, I think when he scored it at the time, I did just sort of go, oh, wow, and sort of give it a bit of a clap and then said, oh, no, that's not good for Malaga. So I realized it was a brilliant goal. It was only when I watched the replay back and the sort of technique on it, it's sort of the ball's sort of stuck under his left foot a little bit. There's no run up onto it, really. He's sort of running away from goal and then he sort of somehow gets all the power on it to hit it the other way across goal. It's a brilliant finish. It's the definition of a Alan Partridge foot like a traction engine sort of. Because Alfonso Herrero is he's not badly positioned, but he's nowhere near it. By the time it hits the net, it's flown past him. And take a boo, Nicolas Fernandez.
Yeah.
Again, Malaga not really doing much then. It seemed to be all Elche. If we couldn't get really control the game when it was 1-0, we looked dead and buried at 2-0. Let's just go straight to Elche's third goal. I'll be honest with you, in the ground, I didn't notice the penalty. I don't know how, because when I watched it back, I thought it wasn't a really bad sort of foul, but it probably was a penalty. Obviously, VAR give it. Do you agree? Or
yeah, I do. Unfortunately, it kind of just wrapped up a performance for Einar that I'm sure he'll soon forget. And he's got this in him. We've seen penalties conceded by Einar like this time and time again. So I think it's just a bit of a yip in his game. So no arguments from me. And tell you what, the penalty was a cracker as well, to be honest, as far as penalties go.
Yeah, if I remember rightly as well, Einar gave a penalty in the very same box when we played Albacete, the one Alfonso Herrero saved. I've got to be honest with you, I know we adore San Alfonso Herrero and he has this sort of godlike quality that he can just stop anything. But the way the game was going, I knew that penalty was going in. I knew he wasn't going to save that one again. And like you said, Deudi buried it right in the bottom corner, sent Alfonso Herrero the wrong way. And again, it was deserved. And you could argue it could have been more, Nick. There was obviously another Herrero save when he was sort of going to ground and he sort of put a hand up and stuck it out. Do you think 3-0 was fair, or could it have been more?
I think it definitely could have been more if it wasn't for Herrero and his heroics. It was just, it wasn't an onslaught, but it's like we said before, it was like verging on a training exercise for Elche. The way they passed the ball around and the way they were practicing, I'm even saying practicing, taking their shots off and things like that, bagging their opportunities. They were just so well drilled. And like you say, Sarrabia will have them doing that. And, now that they've had this under their belt a bit and they've, given a team a bit of a hiding, it wouldn't surprise me to see Elche, go on a bit of a run now. I think they just needed to get out of the system and that they'll go for it. So I think, if it wasn't for the Don, could have been worse.
Yeah, and Sarrabia said in his, I think it was pre-match press conference, he was obviously very complimentary about Malaga and La Rosaleda, and he said they are a team he has studied to the millimeter, and I think it looked like it.
It showed.
Let's see, was there any joy to be found from our substitutes? So, of course, we brought on a favourite of ours, Sergio Castel, Lobete came on, Dani Lorenzo, David Larrubia came back, Rocco Batterina. So at one point we did have the double number 9s up front. Nick, did any of the subs do anything for you?
No, not really. But again, I think when you come on into a game like this where you're trying to get up to speed with a team which are so far ahead of you, it's a nigh on impossible task, and there's only so much you can do. So I don't blame them for not maybe having that much of an impact, but again, it just shows that we don't have the deepest of benches to which to bring on players who can change a game, to be fair.
I thought Castel and Larrubia were decent. I thought they improved this a bit. I'm not saying like they were absolute impact subs, but I thought those two, the other three, I can't say I really noticed, to be honest with you. But I don't know. Did you think this sort of game was potentially coming for us? Because we haven't been like glowing with our reviews of our performances so far, apart from maybe the 10 men against Albacete and partially the Granada game where, we ultimately scraped a draw and saved the penalty at the end.
I think what we have this season more than anything is a bit of a grasp of reality on things. We know when we are on an unbeaten run and we are getting results against teams that we know we should be getting results against or can get results against, we're happy. But I don't think anyone came into this game thinking, even Elche that are on a bit of a low, we're going to give them an absolute tanning at La Rosaleda. It's going to be 30,000 people in the back and they're going to hate it. There's got to be an expectation in some games that, we aren't necessarily going to win every single match. But I tell you what, I'd rather take 6 games unbeaten and 1 loss at this point of the season than 6 games lost and 1 game unbeaten. So for me, it's a good wake-up call for Pacer to look ahead to the next game against Deportivo and be like, well, what can I do differently next time? Where were we weak? Where can we be exploited? And Elche, bloody hell, did they show us where we could be exploited?
Yeah, and again, I think Pellicer did. I think he was quite honest in his post-match press conference and did. He conceded we were second best, but he admitted that early goal was like a pace setter for Elche and in a way a pace setter for us because it sort of just knocked us off any sort of pace, really. So I think that's the lesson for us when we come against these better footballing teams at La Rosaleda, is not to be a bit more alert at the start. So yeah, that was the 90 minutes of football. 3-0 to Elche. I guess the other talking point before we go to Chumbo and Biznaga perhaps came from the stands. There was a lot of sort of annoyance from many in La Rosaleda around, I think it was when the penalty was given and certainly after Elche scored it, that quite a lot of fans left La Rosaleda around the 70th minute we'll sort of talk about that in a minute, but then that was perhaps contrasted with the Fondo Sur, obviously our more vibrant fans down behind the goals in the South Stand, in sort of a response to that and to show solidarity with the players. They stayed behind for half an hour, 40 minutes after the game, singing to show support. Personally, I think that's a great gesture. I think, I love to see stuff like that. Do you have any strong feelings on either side of this, Nick?
For me personally, someone who's always stays to the end. It doesn't matter if you're getting beat, 5-0 or 6-0, whatever it might be. Always stays to the end of the match. Always give them a round of applause. This is football at the end of the day. But I also don't have any strong or hard feelings to him. To put that on to other people as well. People make up their own minds and make their own decisions. It was a late game, 9 o'clock kickoff. A lot of those people could have had families thinking it's 3-0. I want to get my kids to bed. All sorts of things could have been different. So I'm neither here nor there. But for me personally, I always stay to the end. You've got it.
Yeah, I'm fairly confident. I've never left a game early for one of my teams. I might have left early if I've been, ground hopping somewhere and I thought, I've had enough of this. But I'd never go early. I'd only leave just before 90. But yeah, I've never left a Malaga game early and I always stay to the end. But yeah, a bit like you, I'm a bit sort of like, when they're like all coming out, I was a bit like, oh, come on, guys, a little bit. But I'm not repulsed by it. It's like again, like you said, you don't know everyone's context. To be honest with you, I didn't really know about the Fondo Sur thing till the next morning. Really, I know Chris put some things in our WhatsApp group, and I think I was just a bit confused why he was still in the stadium. I was like, I was wondering if they'd been kept behind because someone had done something naughty or something. But no, it's great, and obviously, we want to see that passion and. I think it was a great gesture from the Fondo Sur, showing that support with the club and the team on the pitch. And yeah, I don't think we need to be too critical on the performance this week. We were just not as good as Elche. That's going to happen in football, especially when we've come from the third division and they've come from the top division. I'm sure we'll have some great results this season at La Rosaleda against a couple of the so-called bigger clubs, and we will celebrate them buoyantly with a full La Rosaleda and nobody leaving their seats till the 130th minute when we all stay behind to celebrate. But anyway, let's move away from the stands and go back to the pitch. We'll do our Chumbo and Biznagas. Sort of, yeah, I think I know where your Chumbo's going, so I'll go to you first.
It's got to be Einar. No two doubts about it. Don't get me wrong, there's a few other players that you could possibly mention in this. We've named a few in this podcast, but for me, Einar is involved in every single goal we've conceded and just generally didn't look up to pace in this match. And it's like we said, for pace has usually gone with a bit of rotation of centre-backs, which allows them to maybe get a bit of a respite and take them out the firing line. But I think for this one, Einar was just not at the game at all.
Yeah, I was going to pick Einar too. Danny Sanchez wasn't far behind for me. I really think that left-back position is a big concern for me at the moment. One other, I guess, dishonourable mention, and it feels a bit harsh because perhaps still finding his feet, but Romani again, I didn't really see him at all. And so I know perhaps we were sort of pushed back by Elche, but I don't know, I still want to see a bit more from him. And I've got to be honest with you, I'm tiny bit worried about him already. He's been a bit quiet in games. He had some good moments against Granada, but yeah, it's just, I don't know. I want to see.
Not sold yet.
No,
I think of that entire front forward three, to be honest, compared to other games. And the thing is, we can only compare them to what we've seen so far this season, but even going across to Antonito and Dione, quiet would be a thing. I'm not saying they played badly, but they were very quiet in this game.
Yeah, that is true. Actually, Dione, I could probably label that up as well. But again, it just wasn't our sort of midfield weren't really quite getting there either. Biznaga then. Who are you going with Biznaga?
Can only be one person, and this time for the right reasons. But Don Alfonso Herrera, he's just, the score line would have been even more flattering to Elche if it wasn't for him and his saves. I think even in times of a lot of intense pressure, he kept his head. It was a good lead on the pitch still, and even applauded at the end as well. There's not many goalkeepers who can see 3 goals but then still have the face to go and clap the fans at the end. So yeah, Don Alfonso Herrera for me.
Yeah, and I think this came up in a WhatsApp group earlier. Have we given much love to the red goalie shirt on the pod yet? I feel like we haven't. It's really cool, isn't it?
I mentioned it a few episodes ago, but I think we were talking about the goalie shirts in general, because obviously they've got a yellow and a green one as well, traffic light system, which is a bold fashion choice. But the red one is so reminiscent of that that anniversary kit that he played in last season. And I just think it's a good colour for him. But to be fair to him, there's not many colours he can't pull off. Pink last season, red this season. He's a warm colours man.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, there was I think it was an article on El Desmarque about all the players that have played for. I think it was mainly focused on the Spanish under-19 team, but I think it did reference like some of the under-21 players as well. And the sort of headline photo was Alfonso Herrera in like a Spain shirt, and I thought, oof. I got a bit excited when I saw the photo at first and thought, no, they haven't told me.
It could still happen.
It still happens. Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out in the future. I honestly wouldn't. Yeah, he's my Biznaga as well. I was going to give a bit of a shout out as well to. I thought Aaron Nacho Maloney was really good again in what was quite tough. I thought he was the only one that looked slightly composed amongst the sort of, the sort of dominance of Elche. He's such a great little footballer to watch. Yeah, really, really exciting. When he gets a bit bigger and sort of just has more experience, what a footballer he is going to be.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I think we can put a line under that one and sort of, it was what it was. Not a great night at La Rosaleda. I should give a shout out. We had a great day out. Me, Luke, and some of the other, Giri Cast listeners that came along, and we went to La Pecha, and took them to the Be Happy pub with the crazy waiter man. Should say as well that, and Chris Marquez joined us at Bar Hermanos Madrid. And yeah, there seemed to be a lot of our listeners and, our friends over for that game. So, don't let the 90 minutes ruin your Saturday, etc.
Yeah, they kept the faith and went and held out for that Elche Saturday game. I went too early with Huesca.
Yeah.
Scared of it being six Saturday games in a row is just a bit unheard of.
Yeah, and actually the next one's on a Saturday as well, isn't it?
We've got Oviedo's on a Saturday, and I think we've just had Levante on a Monday, haven't we? Into the start of November.
I mean, like the home games. I think they've all been on a Saturday so far, haven't they?
Well, we've got fingers crossed for Almeria. That's what I've booked for next in December. That's
when I have a friend coming over then, and it's a long weekend in Spain that weekend, so that should be a good one. But yes, we can look forward to those events. We've got another game coming up this coming weekend where we go away to Depor. So if you've listened to this review show, I can assure you that there's a very good chance the preview show's already out, because we'll just say we're recording them very close together. This week. So if it's not there yet, give it a couple of hours. The preview show will be there too. So again, thank you for listening. If you have, I know we've released a bit later this week, but we have got it out there eventually. So I will say thank you to you, Nick Bell.
Cheers, Matt. Glad to be back.
Yeah, glad to be back, and I'm sure I'll see you very soon. And
I'll definitely see you soon.
And thank you guys for listening. Obviously, go and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, subscribe to the YouTube channel, do all those things podcasts and YouTube channels ask you to do. I keep forgetting to say we're a YouTube channel as well. And we will see you very soon. Adios and vamos Malaga.